Jared Millens here, and today I wanted to talk about Chapter 11, which is emotion in the workplace. So I chose it because I've been working in the service industry for about 7 to 8 years so far, and I thought it applied to a lot of the situations I've had to deal with, and I also just thought the chapter was really interesting. So to start off the chapter, they did start talking about surface action and deep acting. So surface action to me was kind of faking it. So when I'm waiting tables, that will be like putting on a smile, generic waiter, maybe checking up on them once, but nothing special, just almost kind of faking it, kind of getting into it a little bit. Then there's deep acting. Deep acting is really faking it to me. That is, checking up on the guests many times, really, having, conversations with them about their life, talking about stuff that, you really don't want to listen to. And then also I use my server voice. So my server voice is, I'll raise my voice a bit and I'll sound like super innocent. A lot of people in the service industry do have a server voice, and we'll use it to make guests feel more comfortable. They'll tend to have a better time, and it makes us feel better as well. So after that, the book then talks about emotional rules. So emotion is a very central part of our organizational life in terms of interaction with customers. So that'll be with me waiting tables or clients. So when we get into the workforce. So the first emotional rule was expressing emotions in a professional way. This I was able to relate to a lot. So there was one time in the restaurant where the hostess was getting in a fight with the waiter because the waiter claimed that he wasn't getting enough tables. Kind of went on a little bit, and the hostess started using a lot of profanity towards him and started really yelling at him. Her emotions really got the best of her, and she was not handling herself in a professional way at all. We did eventually have to, exit her from the building, and we did eventually, also have to lay her off. That is a great example of not expressing your emotions in a professional way. I know sometimes your emotions can get the best of you, and I know it can be really difficult, but you need to know how to control that, especially in the workforce. The next rule is expressing emotions to improve situations. Example of this for me in the workplace is we used to make our salads with our bare hands. In the service industry, this is really, really gross and unsanitary. We're constantly cleaning, we're cleaning plates, we're picking garbage up off the floor, we're cleaning tables, our hands are really, really gross. And we used to just make salads with our bare hands, and that's absolutely disgusting. I am still traumatized from it. I will not eat any salads out anymore because of that. But I was really affected by it. I thought it was really gross, and I didn't want that to happen to anybody else, especially people I knew, knowing that they can get easily, they can easily get sick from it. So I went up to the manager, I talked to the owner, and we came to the conclusion that now everyone will have to use tongs and gloves to make the salad. A great example of expressing emotions to improve the situation. So the next rule is expressing emotions to the right people, and also expressing your emotions to help individuals. This to me can kind of go hand in hand. So I come into work all the time, usually pretty happy, very positive, upbeat, love to talk, love to keep conversation with people. And a lot of the times it does help individuals, people who are really not in the mood to talk, and you're just kind of down. Me talking to them, kind of getting them amped up and stuff, ready for the shift. That's a good thing. My emotions are helping the individuals, but you have to know who to express those emotions to. There was, a couple times where, my positivity or, me just getting all happy or, whatever, does not pan out too well. There was one time where the manager just wasn't really in the mood for it that day, and he yelled at me because he was just not feeling it. Just did not, he was too stressed out. Sometimes people just get too stressed out, or they're just not in the mood for it, and they just don't need to be around that. So expressing your emotions to the right people is really important. The next rule is do not manage emotions for personal benefit. This is, expressing things for you, yourself. You got to express your emotions in a manner that's kind of for everyone else and not just for self-promotion. So the final rule is expressing certain emotions in an appropriate way. This kind of goes back to with the hostess. You just got to know how to express them, and it can be bad. You can, kind of get angry, but just know how to control it and know how to act accordingly. So the next part in the book that I thought was really interesting was when they went over stressors and burnout. Stresses and burnout I thought really interesting because it happens all the time. When I was younger, I actually used to work in the banquet. And, I used to work banquet. So it was like weddings and all these other crazy events. First, it's great. You go through that positive stage of, a new job and you love it. But after working 100 plus weddings, you really start getting burnt out. And it's just, you're getting exhausted, emotionally. You're really just kind of, it's all going downhill from that point. And I tried to, you definitely try to help it out, when, by talking to coworkers. And coworkers, once again, can really help you out when they are talking, all positive and they're, having, positive emotions. But burnout is a really, really big thing in the work industry. Stressors as well. Constantly, my first job, especially working in banquet, the restaurant was super hardcore. Like, the environment was super fast paced, everyone was on you at all times, and it was really, really difficult. Like, the workload was insane, and you were constantly being yelled at by managers, and that really stressed me out at first, especially when I was really young. So those stressors can eventually lead to burnout. Another really good example of that would be the Enron case. When I went over the Enron case, a lot of the people were constantly stressed out because they could lose their job at any second. People were being criticized in front of everyone, and you'd be called into a room and they would, they could fire you on the spot, which would be terrible. So those people in Enron were constantly stressed out. Eventually they got really burnt out. People started to complain, which, kind of started, bringing up, what's going on with Enron. And then there's the outcome where people started sending emails to the CEO and complaining and trying to figure out what was going on. And that's when the whole Enron case just absolutely blew up. So I thought that was a phenomenal example for it. So overall, I think Chapter 11 was a really, really interesting chapter. I thought the restaurant industry really relates to it and does a great job kind of explaining everything in the chapter. And that's Chapter 11. Thank you.